Good day everyone. We're going to take a look at paragraph 8.2, which is all about so-called multiplying out the brackets using the so-called distributive property. What that exactly means we will see in a moment. The book goes out for a long way to try and explain what this actually is and gives you a few practical examples to show you how this property exactly works. So we're first going to take a look at that, and then we'll take a look at what it exactly means. So for example, this is an exercise out of the book. I think it's exercise 11. Clothing store Dixon's is having a sale. All blouses are blouses? I think blouses. All blouses cost 13 euros. Kyla wants to buy 6. Before she goes to the store, Kyla calculates how much it will cost. See the picture to the right. How does she calculate the cost, or what does she get? So she says, well, I want to buy 6 blouses of 13 euros. So that's 6 times 13. Well, that's the same as 6 times 10 plus 6 times 3, right? I think a lot of people do this mentally when they calculate multiplications of bigger numbers. They split it into 2. And I think that's just how your head likes to work, right? Not do big multiplications of big numbers. No, split it up and add them together. So just as he says, 6 times 10 plus 6 times 3. That should give you 78 euros. Use the same method to calculate 8 times 13 in your head. So what would you do? Well, you split that 13 up again, right? I would do 8 times 10 and 8 times 3 and then add them up. 8 times 10 is 80, 8 times 3 is 24. Adding them up will give me 104. Okay, what does this have to do with multiplying out the brackets? What even is multiplying out the brackets? I don't know yet, but this is something that you can use to understand how this works later on. The distributive property ABC is AB plus AC. This is so-called multiplying out the brackets. How does this work? And we're going to start with using numbers. If you say 8 times 41, you can also say, well, that's the same as 8 times 40 plus 8 times 1, right? So that's the same as this. 8 times 40 plus 1, because that's 41. So apparently we can split this number 41 into 2 separate numbers, and then multiplying them separately and adding them up will give me the same result as doing it in one go. So 8 40 plus 1 means 8 times 40 plus 1, right? We leave out this multiplication dot again because mathematicians are lazy. So every time you see this, you must think there's a multiplication dot right there. And that means that this 8 times 40 plus 1 means the same as this. 8 times 40 plus 8 times 1. Then they give you another practical example how to take a look at this. If you have 2 areas like this, area 1 and area 2. They say, well, area 1 and 2 both have a width of 8. And they have a length of 20 for area 1 and 3 for area 2. If I would ask you guys to calculate the area of them together, well, you could have done 2 things. You could have done 8 times 20, calculate area 1, and then add 8 times 3, right? That's what they do here. They do it separately. But what you also could have done is do 8 times, just take this length as one piece, 20 plus 3. Hey, if you put that inside of brackets, 8 times 20 plus 3, that must now give me the same as 8 times 20 plus 8 times 3, right? I just showed you 2 different ways to do it. They should give you the same area. If you don't find the same area, you're doing something wrong. So the area of the whole rectangle is the same as the area separately combined. And this gives me a new property to work with. They call this the distributive property, They're entirely correct calling it like this, but the Dutch book, Getallen Ruimte, doesn't use this mathematical term. They don't call this the distributieve eigenschap. They just leave it out. They just say, well, this is what we call haakjes wegwerken. In English, they say, we're going to call this the distributive property, which is multiplying out the brackets. So in English you say de haakjes uitvermenigvuldigen. In Nederlands zeggen we de haakjes wegwerken. Kijk maar, op het eind zijn er geen haakjes meer. 8 times a plus b. Hey, now we're using letters, right? That also works. 8 times a plus b is the same as 8 times a plus 8 times b, which I could then write down as 8a plus 8b. Oh, okay, but in the end we don't have brackets anymore. So that's why they call this multiplying out the brackets, de haakjes wegwerken, ervoor zorgen dat ze er niet meer staan. This seems very tiresome, and some students already say, well, Mr. why would we learn this? Should we do this? When do you apply this in real life? And a lot of different cases. But it's now too early to take a look at that, practically speaking. So this is something that will come back multiple times, not only during this year, but during your whole mathematical career. I think even at physics, at economics, etc. Just trust me, this is going to be used a lot. And they write this rule down like this. A times B plus C equals AB plus AC. So they now, you could say, generalize this rule using letters. A can be any letter, B can be any letter, C can be any letter, or they can be numbers. Right? And they write down those curves down below to show you what they are multiplying. A times B and A times C. Let's practice. And here's the rule again. Multiplying out the brackets this way. A times B and A times C. Just follow the curves. And please write down a plus or a minus sign. Depends on what's right here. We're going to take a look at minus signs later. But do not write down a multiplication sign here. Please don't. Then you find something entirely different. It's A times B plus A times C. So here, 3 times 2A and 3 times 10. This is the intermediate step. 3 times 2A gives me 6A. And 3 times 10 is 30. Now add them up. There's a plus sign here, so you get 6A plus 30. Here, 8 times 2B and 8 times 8. So the intermediate step is 2AB and 8A. Adding them up gives me 2AB plus 8A. Remember, this is your final answer in this case, right? You cannot add up 30 and 6A because they're not like terms. Here the same thing. 2AB and 8A don't have the same letters, so you can't add them up. Okay? Practice this for a bit. This is theory A. In another video I'm going to explain 8.2b as well, which will go a bit more in depth when we find negative numbers as well. Good luck.